Kenny the Jet Smith gives my drop story of why Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. It was all about the mindset. Welcome to Game on Brain, sponsored by OnlineCashUp.com. If you got game on your brain, why not get paid for it? Sports is a multi-billion-dollar business, and there's plenty of money to go around for everyone, not just the players. Whether you're a fanatic, a fan, or simply an occasional viewer, corporations want to know what you think to keep their finger on the pulse of the marketplace. And they're willing to pay for that privilege. So if you're not shy about sharing your opinion on sports and other topics, visit GameandBrain.com/opinions and grab your piece of the pie. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm some basketball savant, all right? But when two-time NBA champion Kenny the Jet Smith starts breaking down why Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player to ever lace him up, I know to shut up and listen. And let me tell you something. The reasons might surprise you. The complete package. Kenny Smith didn't mince words when talking about Jordan. He straight up said, Michael Jordan was the most complete basketball player that ever lived. Not just great, not just dominant, complete. There's a difference, people. Certain people could be just as effective, Smith explained. Kareem was just as effective. LeBron at times could be just as effective, but the most complete basketball player that ever lived is Michael Jordan. You hear that distinction? That's the whole ball game right there. Jordan wasn't just putting up numbers. The guy had no weaknesses. None. Zero. It's like if you went to a steakhouse and the steak was perfect and the sides were perfect and the dessert was perfect and the waiter didn't annoy you with that fake, how's everything tasting? Bullshit when your mouth is full. The complete package. College made the difference. You know what's funny? Kenny Smith thinks Jordan's completeness came from, get this, actually going to college. What concept? 3 whole years at North Carolina under Dean Smith, one of the greatest coaches ever. Remember when top prospects actually went to school? Crazy, right? I think that came from going to college, Smith said. In college, the best coaches are in college basketball because there's more of them. The best ones are there. So they design defenses and offenses that are different from the NBA. This makes so much sense it's actually pissing me off. In college, Jordan learned how to play against different defensive schemes. Zone, man-to-man, 1-3-1, 2-1-2, while the NBA was strict man-to-man. So when Jordan got to the pros, the game was easier for him because he understood all these different defensive philosophies. Smith breaks it down perfectly. He was still the most fundamental basketball player. LeBron's IQ is crazy, but the most fundamental? When you watch LeBron, you don't always say he's the most fundamental. Jordan was the best athlete and the most fundamental. That's like being the hottest person in the room and the smartest. It just doesn't happen. The original two-way player. You know what makes me laugh? All these talking heads bragging about two-way players today. Kenny Smith destroyed that notion with one line. Was there a term called two-way player when we played? No. If you didn't play two ways, you couldn't play. Boom. Mic drop. In Jordan's era, you didn't get special credit for playing defense and offense. That was the baseline expectation. Now you could be a specialist and get paid $15 million to just shoot threes or whatever. Smith calls these guys out. You're looking at your salary and say, I'm good. No, you're not. You're just a specialist that shot the ball. It's like giving a participation trophy to a doctor for not killing their patients. That's supposed to be the minimum requirement of the job. The hand check factor. Here's where things get really interesting. Kenny Smith throws a bomb into the conversation about why players from Jordan's era would be even better today. It's not because they worked harder or had more heart or any of that old man yelling at clouds BS. It's because of one simple rule change, the hand check rule. For you non-basketball nerds, defenders used to be able to put their hands on offensive players to control their movement. Smith demonstrates how this affected everything. If you hand check, I could get up. If you hand check it, I have to turn this way. Without the hand check, I could face up here. Now, I become a better passer because my peripheral is now at 75 degrees where here it's at 50. I'm a better passer because I could see more. I'm a better ball handler because I can play with it. You can't touch me. I'm a better shooter because now my feet are squared up to the rim. Holy shit, that's a complete breakdown of how one rule made it harder to play in Jordan's era. So when people go nuts over Steph Curry's and Kyrie Irving's handles, which are admittedly incredible, Kenny points out they'd be even better ball handlers in the 80s and 90s if they didn't have defenders' hands all over him. The defensive GOAT factor. This is where Kenny Smith separates Jordan from other greats like Lebron. It's not the rings. It's not the 6-0 finals record. It's the defensive impact. Defensively is where that's the separation to me, Smith says. He tells this incredible story about how his coach, Rudy T., would design entire game plans around where Jordan was on the court. We used to run plays, right? We go, okay, Rudy, be our coach. Rudy TB, writing on the board. He's like, okay, we're going to run 5, but if Michael's on the right side, we run on the left. Think it's a joke. He goes, okay, and we're going to run 21, but if Michael's on the left side, we're going to run. And he'd go down each play and say where Michael was, and we're going to run it on a different side. That's the impact defensively he had. That is insane. Imagine being so terrifying defensively that an entire NBA team is designing their offense to avoid you. That's like seeing a shark in the water and the lifeguard yelling, "Everyone swim toward the other shark. That one's less hungry." Smith gives LeBron his due on offense. LeBron has the same effect on the offensive end that Michael has because of his passing and rebounding. But on the defensive end, that's the caveat that separates it. The one-game factor. When the conversation turns to the GOAT debate, Smith cuts through all the noise with one simple question. If you had to win one game, who are you taking? If I want one game, give me Michael. If we're talking about the GOAT, then how do you just discredit LeBron's legacy? No, we're not discrediting, but if it comes down to one game, then you take away LeBron's biggest benefit in the argument, which is his longevity. This is such a perfect framing of the debate. LeBron's greatness is in his sustained excellence. 21 years, and counting, of dominance. That's the GOAT of longevity. But in any single year, Smith would take Jordan. I need one game in that year. I'm going with Michael. One game in that 21-year career, every year I would be like, give me Michael that year. Give me Michael that year. The mental edge, beyond Kenny Smith's breakdown, what made Jordan truly special was his mindset. The man turned everything into motivation. Getting cut from his high school varsity team as a sophomore? Fuel. Losing to his brother Larry in backyard games? Fuel. The Pistons' Jordan Rules defense? More fuel. Jordan didn't just practice. He practiced with obsessive intensity. His trainer Tim Grover said Jordan didn't work to be flashy. He worked to be consistent. The guy prepared so thoroughly that actual games became almost easy by comparison. And talk about mental toughness. After his father was tragically murdered in 1993, Jordan stepped away from basketball at the peak of his powers. He went to play professional baseball, honoring his father's dream. When he came back to basketball in 1995 with the simple fax message, "I'm back," he proceeded to lead the Bulls to 3 more championships. Who does that? Who walks away from being the best in the world at something, pursues a completely different sport, then comes back and is immediately the best again. That's like if I quit comedy, tried to become an accountant for 18 months, then came back and sold out Madison Square Garden my first night back. It doesn't happen. The blueprint for greatness. Jordan's greatness came from turning pain into purpose. From his high school rejection to the loss of his father, he used every setback as fuel. He practiced with more intensity than anyone. He studied his opponents. He visualized success. He focused on the process, not the results. As Kenny Smith puts it, there's only one answer to the GOAT question. It's Jordan. And it's not just because of the 6 rings, the 5 MVPs, or the 10 scoring titles. It's because he mastered every aspect of the game, physical and mental, in a way no one else has. LeBron might break all the statistical records. Kareem might have had the most unstoppable move. Kobe might have been the closest replica. But there's only one Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And as Kenny Smith makes clear, his completeness as a player, especially his defensive impact, puts him in a category all by himself. Look, I'm not saying you're an idiot if you think someone else is the GOAT. But I am saying Kenny the Jet Smith, a guy who actually played against Jordan, makes a pretty damn compelling case. And if you think otherwise, well, Maybe basketball just isn't your sport. Maybe stick to badminton or competitive knitting or whatever the hell else you're into. At the end of the day, Jordan's legacy isn't just about basketball. It's about mindset. It's about resilience. It's about turning fear into focus and pain into purpose. His story is the ultimate blueprint for excellence, proving that greatness isn't born. It's built through relentless work, unshakable confidence, and a mindset that refuses to accept anything less than the best. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why Michael Jeffrey Jordan is the greatest of all time. Thanks for keeping game on your brain. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Now that you've heard our opinions, it's time to get paid for yours. Visit the online cash shop at gameonbrain.com/opinions and get your ass in the game.